What's going on, people? Welcome to Throwdown, episode 48. I am your host, Tony Polanco, and tonight I'm joined by Emilio Lopez.
Dharma Cangelad at Tanagra.
Chris Seeley.
Hey, what's up, everyone?
Brett Murdock.
Howdy, everybody.
And joining us tonight, special guest, Chazz Sweet.
What is the deal, people?
Yeah. All right, we got a good, crazy show for you. But before we start, a couple of things to talk to you about. First of all, we want to thank Yanya for being on the show last week. That was the biggest fucking show we had since episode 1. Fucking crazy.
Yeah, literally the following day, we had like 2,000 views on that thing. Crazy.
Yeah, and now it's closing on 4,000 now, which means thank you to all of our new subscribers.
Thank you, guys. I mean, we definitely want to have more guests that you might be interested. So, send over any sort of things to our Twitter or even on that show. Just let us know.
Yeah, and as always, so we got like 40, almost 50 new subscribers. Let your friends know about the Throwdown.
Yeah.
There you go, man. So yeah, thank you for that. It's fucking great. Another thing is, Manny on the last episode, Throwdown Questions, another show we had, Manny was like, hey guys, why don't you let us know what you thought of our guests and what you think of having guests, and they actually responded.
Yes.
You gotta ask them, man. So
yeah, I mean, because everybody was getting into the nitty gritty of like Xbox, PlayStation. I'm like, hey, guys, we had a guest on. You remember that, right?
So yeah, they like the guests. They like having guests in general. They I think it was Dio. He was like, it's the equivalent of like your buddy vouching for somebody else. Right? Yeah. So they like that, which is something we're going to be doing tonight, actually. So yeah, we will be having more guests. We actually have 2 pretty big guests lined up in the next 2 weeks. I think you guys may have guessed who we have for number 50. I tweet out, I'm like, episode number 50, shut the fuck up and play. So yeah, you guys will see that, and so big, 2 big interviews coming. It's going to be good stuff. Quick shout out to, and I'm sorry if I butcher your name here. It's Keanu Mitchell. Okay, so apparently this dude has been listening to the Throwdown since day 1, and he never said anything. Interesting, right?
See, that's kind of been what I've been telling you though, Tony. Like, sometimes you're like, they're not commenting, or we always kind of get the same commenters sometimes. But there's a whole bunch of people out there that are just cool with just listening to us and not fully interacting or anything like that. But I'm glad that he decided to come out and just say a little something, which is cool. Yeah,
it was pretty interesting because he came out because he commented on the co-op, which I'm going to talk about in a bit, and he was like, "Oh shit, Tony's on this episode. It's going to get crazy." And then I replied to, and this episode was wild, and I replied to that. He was like, "Holy shit, you replied to me, dude. I've been listening to you forever." I'm like, "Dude, this is me, man. I reply to everybody. That's my thing." You know? So yeah, that's pretty funny. And he was like, "Yeah, I remember when you guys had that other host that you kicked off the site."
Oh God!
Like he remembers all of that, man. So yeah, thank you to him. And since we're talking about that, man, those comments and the co-op, 142 comments last time I checked. Whew, the same shit. You mentioned Xbox and PlayStation, dudes just. Oh, it was a bloodbath, and some challenges have been issued. Hey, Brett, you got called out, man.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to this.
Yeah, others say called out Brett, so that's going to happen, and we're probably going to have Charles versus Damien, too. Versus is coming back, people, in a big way, so expect some good stuff coming your way. But yeah, it's just funny to me. It's like 142 comments of the same shit. But it's funny. It's funny to me. And I also, like I said, I like being on other people's podcasts. I can just unleash a little more. Because here I got to be a little controlled. I'm the host of this shit.
Why are you doing? You can't. You can't be a nut with all the be as nutty as everybody else. You have to kind of keep control.
Yeah, I can't go on here and be like, man, fuck Microsoft. I can't do that. On other people's podcasts, maybe.
Well, I also feel like you might have been trolling just a little bit on with that one.
Just a little. Oh man. It's hilarity. All right, so since we have our man Chazz Sweet here, we want to talk to you a little bit because you're interesting to me because you're a newcomer in this whole game and you're trying to get in from, like learn from all of us. So tell us about yourself, man. How long have you been doing this, video gaming thing, and what got you interested in doing it in the first place?
All right, so for me, I've always been a gamer, right? Ever since I was a kid. I had the Steve Urkel look about me, so I wasn't bagging all the dimes. So I had to kind of, get that energy off in another way, and video games was my outlet. That and Shakespeare. We ain't gonna talk about that. We ain't gonna talk about that.
Interesting.
What, you're not gonna do a little Othello for us?
You know what? I am chocolatey, but not that chocolatey. You know what I'm saying? So we ain't gonna do all that.
What, you assume that you're gonna be doing Othello? What if I said do Iago?
You know what? We're not going that route. we ain't going that route today, baby. But no, man, I've been gaming for forever, and back in high school, I got into journalism in kind of a major way. I wrote for the school paper, then off to college, and I wrote. So journalism was going to be my thing, but my slant then was hip hop. So I started writing for some local magazines that went nationwide, and eventually I got the attention of some guys over at The Source, where I started working with them a little bit. They were going to open up a West Coast office, so I went out west. That was about the time that Benzino kind of blew everything up. So if you know the history of The Source, that's when it pretty much died and it became irrelevant. And so that didn't quite work out. Did some other things for a while. Always gamed, though. Always gamed. And one day I said, well, hell, why don't I just put the two together? Why don't I use these skills that I kind of, cobbled together and start talking about games in a way that I don't think anybody's really touching, especially right about now. Dealing with actually one of the topics that we're going to be talking about a little bit later. So, for me right now, I'm just trying to make a little headway in the game, meet some interesting people, have some great conversations about this thing that we all love, this thing of ours. I feel like it's a made men meeting right now. I don't know which one of y'all is going to be Tony. Not you, Tony.
Yeah, it's gotta be me.
But no, man. That's just what it is, man. I'm just a regular cat that talks about games, that loves games, loves talking about games with other people. Let's get it in. Simple as that.
Yeah, man. You actually wrote something for the coalition too, which I was surprised about. Remember, I hit you up on Twitter because you and I have been Twitter friends for a while, and then I saw, and I was, because I'm doing my route to editing. I'm like, wait a minute, this dude, like he writes for us now.
Yeah. My poultry skills. That I was able to get something up on the coalition. The site is crazy dope. I'm saying? I'm not going to circle jerk anybody on me, but, you guys have been putting it down for a long time, so, I appreciate the look, and I appreciate the love.
Yeah, man, and as far as your podcast goes, tell us the whole philosophy behind that, because it's called the 100% Podcast.
Yeah. Well, the story behind that is it kind of intertwines with the whole ethos of the way I review games. If you go to the majority of the bigger sites, maybe even the smaller sites, when they review games, you basically just get a single look, a single perspective of the game, where they kind of put together all of their thoughts in one form. To me, I think that doesn't really do a lot of games justice, especially the ones that are longer, the RPGs, the real-time strategies, the games that need a little bit longer to matriculate, and you really get your stank on the game. So that's why I'm like, I'm going to touch it a couple times. I look at it one time, give my general impressions, look at it 2 times, be like, all right, I'm halfway through the game. Then I get to the end, which is 100%, where I've pretty much played the entire game, all the DLCs, all the side quests, all the extra stuff. Mm-hmm. And the podcast was like, well, hell, if I'm already going to 100% talking about games, why not go 100% talking with people about games? So I just wanted to create a forum where they can go on there, talk how they want to talk. Sometimes it's not safe for work. Thank you for starting that, Tony.
Hey, man, that's
but that's it.
Real
man.
talk
It's just
is
the whole
best
thing.
talk.
Just being thorough.
Yeah, real talk.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, there's a reason for that.
Absolutely.
Yeah, go ahead, Brett.
Oh, I just said real talk is the best talk.
Yeah, the reason he says that is because right before me, he had Gary Swaby, who you guys may know from the Coalition as well. And it was funny because I'm listening to the interview, which was a great interview, by the way. You guys need to check it out. I'm like, wow, these guys are very clean. I wonder how it's going to take when I get on the show. So, yeah, so that was your first M-rated podcast with me on it. Oh, man, I told you, like, have that sticker ready, man.
I look forward to the next one. I think already, yeah, it's gonna drop Monday. So when it hits the interwebs, I think it's gonna just, just flop and just be all over in people's faces. They're gonna get uncomfortable thinking about this level of comfort in the video game realm. I think it might change some people's mind states on it.
Oh, don't worry, and I'm going to get to some of those topics we discussed, man. Very interesting. And I can't let you go off the hook before you tell us what video games have been your favorite throughout all of existence. Like, what are your favorite games? What games mean the most to you, man?
You know what? I would like to say I came prepared, but I literally keep this card in. No, it's not literally, but I have this list of games that I've always been a fan of that I haven't actually seen anything top. Starting way back in the day, I'm talking about Shadowgate for the original NES.
Oh, wow.
Then moving forward to SNES, I'm talking about Shadowrun. And then Chrono Trigger. And then all of the Personas. Huge fan of those. And finally, to round out the top 5, if you will, I will say The Last of Us.
Oh, shit, a new game.
Wow. Yeah. You went from one extreme to the other.
Old and semi-obscure, which is like Shadowrun, and then to something that's totally
the most popular game out there. I like
it's interesting. Did you get to try out Shadowrun Returns?
Yes.
The PC one. What did you think of it?
The energy is different. It's definitely, to me, it felt and it played and the experience was more of a mobile game. But I understood what they were trying to do with it. So I appreciate them coming back with it. Like, the game, to me, that really brought that essence back wasn't Shadowrun Returns. It was Wasteland 2.
Oh,
that one really gave me the feel of the old school.
Yeah, man. I don't think I've touched that game. Brett, you played it, right? Wasteland 2?
No, but I have a couple friends who have played it, and I've seen it played enough that I know it's pretty legit.
Yeah.
Awesome. All right, so everybody knows now. You're starting a game, but people will be seeing your face a lot more.
Let's do it.
That's what's up. All right, so now that we got to know you, we shall jump into our main topic. It's been a year since Gamergate started, where the video game industry just like imploded on itself, and we're trying to build it all back up again. The thing is, us and the inside, we knew some shit like this was going to happen eventually. You had these guys on the big sites always talking shit about their audiences and stuff, and then, the world finally got to see how corrupt they were, and it all just came tumbling down. And it's been a year since then, so I want to talk about how things have changed since then, because some things have changed and some things have remained exactly the same. It's pretty crazy. Start off with Brett. I know you have some deep thoughts about this stuff.
Oh man, like that's such a broad launching point. I don't even know where to begin my tirade.
That's dude. It is a broad thing. It's like because so many things have happened, and it's very broad. So I guess just try to focus on one thing, and then we all just jump in on that.
Okay. Well, I mean, the biggest thing that's happened in the last year was a very a redefining or a moving of the goalposts that changed the whole point of the movement and in essence diluted a lot of its message. This can be tied to a lot of the social justice movement being seen in academia right now. But the long and short of it was basically that it started as an issue of journalistic corruption. Issues got heated on both sides. Tempers flared and insults got sent from both sides, trolling got sent from both sides, and the Gamergate message was essentially diluted into a message more of hate and anger than of wanting corruption, and that can be very easily attributed to people having a very visceral gut reaction. Ironically, in the same time as this, we've seen a lot of research done on primates and their behavior and ideas of justice, which is inherently biologically seeded into us. I'm sure all of you have seen the video of the monkey where the one gets the grape and the other one gets the fucking honeydew.
Yeah, yeah, that's a perfect example right there. The other monkey's like, wait a minute, why am I getting the fucking...
Dude, the honeydew monkey gets pissed.
Yeah, he gets pissed, like, wait, what the fuck, dude? I want the grape.
Yeah, and when they repeat that experiment with, observer monkeys, the other monkeys get pissed off for the monkey that's getting the honeydew. They're like, what the fuck is this? So it's been a very natural thing, and it's actually been fascinating to watch from a sociological point of view. Like, just people and their behavior fascinates me, and with a little bit of insight and a little bit of compassion, you can often see where people are coming from. So I definitely see both sides of it, but the point still stands that the Gamergate message has been diluted into what most people consider a message of hate. And a lot of this is due to the he said, she said nature of it, and unfortunately the anti-Gamergate side basically pinning a lot of stuff on the Gamergate side. So it's a weird position because, yeah, there have been a lot of hateful remarks on both sides, but one side seems to be being discredited by it. And I think right now the point where it stands is Gamergate is fighting to legitimize itself, and that seems like a very weird thing, but as I said before, this whole social justice thing, I mean, do you guys understand, do we all understand the difference between morality and social justice, or equality and social justice?
Yeah, there's a big difference, obviously. The thing I'm taking away from this is, you said they're trying to legitimize themselves, but kind of hard to because when the whole thing started, at least from my perspective, it seemed like there was one coherent message. Hey, we don't want to be treated like shit. We want to be treated fairly. We want you to act, more, not morally, but we want you to act ethically. That was the message that I got out of it. But now, even maybe like 3 months afterwards, when I asked people, what is it about to you, I got like 50 million responses. It's become, like you said, diluted, and it seems like the core message has just been drowned out.
Well, that is Gamergate. Go ahead.
Oh no, go ahead. Go ahead first.
I was gonna say that's partially Gamergate's fault. Like I've said this from the beginning. This whole "we are the multi-headed serpent" approach just makes it so that we're very confusing. It's the same problem, the whole anonymous thing had. You can't have a group without a leader, and without a leader, I mean, without a leader or a spokesperson or a clear-cut message, your message gets drowned out by any jackass that says, well, Gamergate is about this, and that's been the problem. And since then, a lot of people have been banding together and trying to organize it, and it's kind of gone through a lot of the same growing pains that the Occupy Wall Street movement did. Unfortunately, it may end up the same way the Occupy Wall Street movement did.
Yeah, you saw how that ended up. But going back to the other thing you said, what I find interesting is like
I wanted.
Go ahead. Sorry, go ahead.
This is what I actually said on the original time when we talked about it on our first when we came back with the Throwdown, the first episode. There is, the message was already. I felt even at the time that the message was diluted because it just became the place where you throw all the things that you don't like about things that happen in gaming, good or bad, And it shouldn't have been a dumping ground for all your for everybody's different things. It should have just had a focus. And Brett is right. There was absolutely no leadership behind it and no focus. So. And then after that point, it becomes like some, for a lot of it, it became about attacking people, which that was also not cool either.
Yeah, because that's the thing. They were like, hey, these people are harassing us, and that shit did happen. But even though they were called out on it, it wasn't enough, And they were like, oh yeah, they're not associated with us because we're doing our own thing. So since there was no leader, these guys were kind of just let to run rampant, going
exactly.
Crazy.
So it's like there's nobody to say, hey, listen, this is not what we're for. None of that happened. So it just kind of became a bunch of random, people who weren't wanting to do the right thing, and then people who was like, oh no, this is also fucked up too. I'm going to do something about it.
And then it further complicated itself by basically anybody that wanted to put the hashtag in their Twitter, or basically, metaphorically put on the Gamergate T-shirt, was considered part of the movement. And so you did see people on the other side of the movement thinking that they were morally justified in coming over, putting on the Gamergate T-shirt, and then doing some horrible things in an effort to water down the message. And they felt, and I've run into people like this that feel like doing despicable things in the name of something good is just and morally right.
Yeah.
And so even though some of these people got caught, that heightened tensions on both sides. So every time somebody said, well, Gamergate is all about hate, people would point out, well, yeah, but it's kind of like the plainclothes police officers in the Occupy Wall Street movement. It illegitimized both sides of the argument and turned it into more of a screaming match about feelings. And the problem is that I think that this is all indicative of a larger problem that consumer America is going through, in that we're supposed to be the customers, we're supposed to be the ones being serviced, we are not supposed to be the product or commodity to advertisers. And that's essentially what it's become. And this became very clear during the Catalyst event of many of these major sites getting together and basically saying that gamers are dead. And if anybody, I'm sure everybody here knows that gamers are a very vocal group, and we are the last group of people that's going to let a large company run roughshod over us or take away something that we're all quite so passionate about. And honestly, I don't think big business really has a roadmap of how to deal with that. So their response was, when this whole thing started coming up and we started questioning them, to try and push out its core audience into the fringe and make them the fringe element, so that they could do the same thing Nintendo did and reach out for more of the mainstream audience in a blue ocean technique. And I didn't appreciate it when Nintendo did it. I didn't appreciate it when the game companies or game journalist sites did it, and I really didn't appreciate they tried to throw all of us under the bus to do it.
Yeah, and then the crazy thing is, it kind of shows their mentality. They live, I guess, in their own little bubble, right? Their little sphere. In their mind, it's okay to write this stuff because they're correct. They think everybody else thinks that way. Gamers are dead. Yeah, gamers are dead. Yeah, we don't need to write about gamers. Fuck gamers. They thought this was okay. I don't know what kind of weird mental jiu-jitsu you need to do to accept this kind of thing. It's like, yeah, we can write this because it's right. This is the right thing to say. And not even thinking about the fact that you are dissing your main audience. You didn't expect any kind of backlash. They didn't. That's what boggles my mind. They didn't see this coming.
Well, and go ahead.
No, go.
Oh,
I'm just saying, I'm agreeing.
Yeah.
The problem becomes, and somewhere along the way, and this is a real issue for me, we have become not the consumer but the product, and this very subtle shift of, and you see most prevalently in free-to-play games, like, yeah, we'll let you play, we'll do all these things, we're going to put these hurdles in front of you, and they're essentially putting you to pad out the game for their premium players. The same thing with a lot of these news sites. Like, they rely on revenue from their advertisers. They don't give a shit about us. They don't care if they coax us to the trough or if they force us to the trough. They don't care if we click through angry or happy or sad or what the fuck we feel, because we're just going to keep clicking, and that keeps selling their ad revenue.
It's not for a lot of those sites. It's not built about building communities. Tony's talked about this. We've talked about some of this in private, where it's like these guys they're not looking to build communities. They're just looking for clickbait, to get you to get to the site so that you can click through their site and they can get ad revenue for you getting onto their site.
Yeah, but its very principle is exploitative, isn't it? Like, it's inherently toxic. It's like the popular girl in high school that becomes popular by just talking shit on everybody.
Yeah, here's the thing for me, the tone that you guys are having, about this is actually just a little shocking, because the tone, and you correct me if I'm wrong, but it feels as though the way that you're expressing your feelings towards this is that this is a new thing. Like, that wasn't always the way since the beginning of time with any medium, because whenever you sign up for a magazine, you don't think that they share your information with advertisers. That's why you get direct mail newsletter stuff.
But I used to pay a subscription fee to them, and they used to rely on that subscription fee as part of their part of their revenue stream, and so they were more beholden to the customers. And yeah, this isn't something that's necessarily new, but this is something that has, in recent years, at least in recent memory for some of us older gamers, encroached into the gaming hemisphere. Like, it was one of those things where we always knew Time and People and all that shit did that, but when Game Informer turned on us, like, that was a cold day, man. Like, I remember when Game Informer would call people out for bad games, and when they, made snarky little comments at the expense of video games, and it was more when they were a kind of a fringe element, so we were all kind of had to band together, and it feels like when it went mainstream, we lost some of that inclusiveness.
Yeah, I think that's what it is, because we gamers, we've seen this in other media all the time. We're surprised, but gaming wasn't exactly like that in the beginning, because the guys that were writing about games were gamers. Now you have a bunch of these people, like Chris has a bunch of hipsters writing about games. They don't really want to write about games. They're just doing it because it gets them money. They don't care about the culture. They don't, because they're not part of it. So you have more of these people writing for these sites, and their hatred of it, maybe not hatred, maybe that's, but their distaste for gaming and gamers, it shows. I mean, like I said, it was happening before Gamergate. It's just now when Gamergate happened, that's when the maybe not the mainstream, because most the Madden, Call of Duty guys don't even know what the hell's going on. But
yeah, they say they're like, well, I'm too busy playing games, which is at the same time what should be happening.
Yeah,
we really shouldn't be talking too much about the politics of games. We should just be talking about how awesome it is to play fucking blah 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 game whenever.
But that's how it used to be. But these gaming sites have turned it around. Let's talk about the politics. Let's talk about this game being racist and feminist and all this other bullshit. It's like, okay, some of these things need to be talked about, but not all the time just hammering your head with this shit. Every game that has a fit woman is now sexist. It's insane. This is what we turned into now.
Well, we've also gotten to the point where we don't understand satire, and that's always a bad place to be. When recycling... like Dragon's Crown is a perfect example. They were harping on the women. It's like, the guys are just crazy looking as them. So what are you talking about? This whole game is made to be a satire of human proportions, man.
Oh, man. I mean, honestly, isn't it time to go ahead and retire that hashtag Gamergate? I mean, because outside of that initial event, everything else is bandwagon. Every other conversation outside of that initial event is bandwagon. So, isn't it way past time to put that to bed?
It's evolved, and now it's become the flag has basically been changed to a sort of fighting of the social justice movement in video games. And to a certain extent, I can understand and support that. Not out of any disdain for any group of people, and not out of any ownership of this is my clubhouse or any of this kind of thing, but the gaming has existed in its bubble for a very long time, and it hasn't had an issue. And no true gamer, in my opinion, and I hate to use the no true Scotsman argument, but I'm going to, no true gamer, in my opinion, should be upset about more variety and more inclusiveness in their video game hobby. Where the problem becomes, and I can best illustrate this in a metaphor with comic books, is if the four of us are sitting around talking about Superman, and we're arguing about Superman fighting Wolverine or something like that, you are more than welcome to come in and put in your 2 cents, as long as it's about Superman or Wolverine. But if we're all hanging out in our little Superman vs. Wolverine party or our DC comic book party, and you come in and you hang out with all of us and you start being like, that's great, but I really fucking like Archie comics. We're like, that's cool, but this is a Superman party. And you go, well, I don't really feel welcome or included. I think you need to have more Archie comics in there. And so in the name of inclusiveness, we all slide and we all change the goalposts and we all change our opinions a little bit. Instead of just all saying we can get together and do this thing, we start cutting things out to accommodate. I have no problem with, strong women, lesbian stories about, transgendered crime-fighting heroes fighting tough decisions. I've read those stories. They're fine. They don't insult me in any core level. But at the same time, if I want to read a story about a Betty Page-looking pinup fighting zombie Nazis in a bikini, fuck yeah, I'm going to. And fuck you for telling me that I can't, or that it is in some way inappropriate that I can't. We've just rehashed the idea of McCarthyism and are now going on witch hunts for people whose opinions we don't agree with and cutting into their right to be able to express those opinions. And that's the problem. Gamergate isn't about stamping on people's freedoms. It is quite the opposite. It is everybody has the right to say what they want. If you don't like it, you don't have to attend that party. Make your own party. Make your own video game. Get a bunch of like-minded people together and do your own thing. But for Christ's sake, don't do it at the expense of somebody else's fun. And that's where I get so tied up on this. And I know I'm in a tirade, and I don't fucking care.
Yes,
that's where I get so tied up in this.
Say it with your chest, man.
Yeah, at the end of the day, you are trying to cut out other people's ability to have fun so you yourself don't have to deal with some of the natural unpleasantness that is going on in life. Here's the thing. People are going to say stuff that you don't like. People are going to do stuff that you don't like. The whole point of free speech is that they get to say that shit, and then you get to say whatever little dumbass comment you think in your little fucking tinfoil hat about the Earth being 5,000 years old. That's your right too, and I don't have any right to shut you up about it. But that is an agreement that goes both ways. You don't shut me up, and I don't shut you up. And I don't care what kind of righteous cause or fucking, thing that your daddy told you, you're riding on the back of, or what kind of flag you're waving, or how fucking good you look waving it. When you start telling people that they are not allowed to do things, or that they are bad because of the things that they like or they want to do, in no way is that okay. And I have no idea how this has been turned upside down on its head to that when people want to express themselves freely, that it is somehow, bad or immoral or anything like that. But this whole we're going so left, it's right thing is fucking bullshit, because I've always been against right militant conservatism. And I don't care whether it masquerades itself as super liberal socialism. It's still the same fucking thing. You're still telling people what they can and cannot think. And at the end of the day, that's not okay. It's never been okay. And no matter how much you dress it up and feel good about it, it's not going to fucking be okay. And that, at the end of the day, is what the Gamergate hashtag is about, because the social justice movement is encroaching actively on gamers and what they can do. People are being harassed for making games that other people deem quote-unquote unethical. And that is a kind of squelching down on art that, in my opinion, cannot be tolerated. And this is just happening as games are starting to be considered art. And so we now run the risk of, to make everybody feel warm and fuzzy and so that nobody has to be fucking triggered, that we're strangling an art medium in its fucking infancy. And not since the fucking burning of Alexandria has there, in my opinion, been something so terrible. And that's not fucking hyperbole. We are sitting on a wealth of creativity and knowledge, and possibilities are endless for the educational and social potential for this kind of thing. And we want to come in and cinch it down and stamp it up. Same thing's happening with the internet, but the big difference here is this is my home. This is where I come to roost, and I will be damned if I let somebody step in and ruin something that I've paid into for fucking 20 years by telling me I can't enjoy the things that I love. And you know what? You are totally welcome at my party until you start having that attitude. And then my opinion changes to, fuck you and the horse you rode in on. Good day, sir.
Dude, I'm thinking about this right now. Think about it. Yeah. By the way, Brett, that was beautiful. Thank you for that.
Where's the? Give him an applause, man.
Oh we got to get one of these right here. Just.
The tirade was brilliant.
Yeah, see, Brett, this is how I see it. Going on what you said, the example you said. Imagine you're at a party chilling. You're talking about Wolverine vs. Superman. This motherfucker comes in and he says, hey, you guys are stupid for talking about that. You need to stop talking about that. And if you do talk about that, you're a bunch of fucking assholes. That's what's going on here, basically. No, we're going to talk about Filipino politics now. We're not talking about Wolverine. Yes, and that was the guy at Polygon, by the way.
Well, that's what gets me furious, because 1 year later, like, I'm yelling about all that stuff. Like, I get very upset when, like, guys like Ben Kuchera or Arthur Giles get up on their soapbox and they're like, this woman looks unrealistic, or this happens. And I love your tweet, by the way, the King of Krypton tweet.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Let's talk about that real quick. Because Anita Sarkeesian says it's a fact that she is a perfect spokesman on women in games.
No, she said she's an expert. She said she's an expert. Someone who doesn't play video games and has shown not to play video games is somehow an expert on the representation of women in video games.
So, yeah. So I tweeted that out, and I'm like, if she's an expert on women in gaming, I'm the fucking king of Krypton. Get the fuck out of here with that shit.
And that's what gets me upset.
She's an expert because she's solely analyzing. She has a degree in this, right? No, not even people who have degrees are really experts. They just have a piece of paper that says they might be.
Look, she doesn't play video games. She gets clips because she wants to make money. She's using all this anger and all these people and all this infighting, and she jumps on the bandwagon because at the end of the day, all she cares about is getting money and standing up on those TED Talks and telling everybody that she's a fucking expert when she's actually a giant con artist. And she's playing the oldest scam in the book just to get. It's all about money. At the end of the day. She doesn't give a shit about women. She doesn't give a shit about the representation of women. She doesn't give a shit about getting more women involved in making or producing video games at all. If that was her agenda, then we would know about it. We would be like, oh, hey, she's getting women scholarships into schools. She's getting more women involved in computer science. She's getting more women to go get jobs at video game companies in writing or illustrating or programming. No, she's not doing any of that. What is she doing? She's giving these fucking horrific TED Talks, and she's just a giant fraud, and it's, at the end of the day, it's all about just putting money in her pocket.
She's a professional victim.
Literally. She can see, the thing is that she can never, at any point, she can never admit that something is going right, because at that point she thrives on the controversy that all of this creates. If everything was, obviously there are problems, right? But if everything was fine, she wouldn't have a job.
Exactly.
She's slipping Jimmy.
Exactly. So
Nice.
she says she's for change, but yet and all she wants to get paid for it at the same time. Okay. If she was really interested, she'd be doing this totally pro bono.
That's true.
See, that's the thing,
Have you guys
though.
ever heard of the rape whistle conundrum?
No, what's that?
No.
It's a classic moral conundrum that you kind of discuss philosophically, in that if you are the manufacturer of a rape whistle and you start a company so that women can get whistles to act as rape deterrents, you start off trying to do something good. But then when your business becomes big and successful, really you're now profiting off rape, and the more that you invest in your rape whistle company, you're not trying to stop the rape, because that would be bad for business, and you end up going from a good intention to an exploitation of a bad situation, and it's kind of a metaphor for a slippery slope. And I think that's the exact thing that's going on here.
Exactly.
Nobody's trying to fix this. Nobody's trying to help the issue. They just want to witch hunt and demonize, because that's what gets the most looks. That's what gets the most publicity. And everybody wants to kind of give to the underdog. So to constantly play up a situation and then act like, oh, I'm the victim here, that literally does make money. That is how she supports herself. Like, I don't want anybody to be under any illusions that the way that her revenue stream goes, and this has been shown, this has been proven in logs and screenshots, is that she makes controversial statements and sometimes stirs the controversy up herself by posting things herself or taking quotes out of context and retweeting them, etc., etc. The controversy flares up, her hits on her page jump up, and her GoFundMe revenue spikes. Like, I'm pretty sure you can sit down and make a chart that shows the relativity between her controversy spikes and her GoFundMe page donations.
Yeah,
But
totally.
that's what I get tired of. If we're looking at 1 year later, I'm sick of her and the long con she's running on everyone to acquire money in this just deceitful way. And I'm just sick of her being able to go up there in a suit with all these other brilliant people giving TED Talks on all sorts of life issues and life hacks and whatever, and she gets up there, the fucking scam artist that she is, and says that she's an expert on video games. It just makes me sick to my stomach.
Yeah, get out
You know
of
what though? I
guess we're all experts of it now.
Yeah, we all are.
Because we've been
Well,
playing
I
it
mean,
for
I
over
wouldn't
20
have the
years,
audacity to call myself an expert, so apparently she knows more than me, even though I've been playing video games for, hold on, let me do the math, 27 years.
Yeah, Chazz, get in here, man. What were you gonna say?
No, you know what? I'm kicking back, man, because you guys are making some very valid points. But I mean, when you boil it all away and look at it, she's getting rich off the hustle. And what's the hustle? Discussion. And what's the discussion? Just a bunch of people talking about something that's an offshoot off of, like I said before, a singular incident. So if you want her to go away, you've got to kill the discussion. But you can't kill the discussion because then there's nothing to talk about except for the games. Well, weren't we supposed to be talking about the games in the first place?
That's the
But
problem. People
that,
love
that's
getting away from that.
what we always say here is we try to change. Like I always say, we need to change the discussion back to the games, and we're always saying that. Tony's saying that. I'm saying that. Manny's saying that. Like we'll talk about the games, or shut up and talk about the games, or play the games, and let's talk. That's what it's about. That's what the video games are about. It's not about her boobs are hanging out, or I don't think you should have a tutorial where the kill button is also kiss your wife button. Fuck, what the fuck does that mean? It's like, that's so stupid. Like, the discussion should be like, is the game good? Did you play it? Why do you like it? Oh, you're talking about Filipino politics? Well, guess what? Go get a job at Politico so somebody else who actually gives a shit can go enjoy the game and tell me that it's worth buying or not.
Yeah,
Also, I
exactly.
want to point out, this isn't a singular incident that caused this whole thing. This was a catalyst event. But to put it in a metaphor that may be a little bit more palatable, you've been pretty sure that your girlfriend has been cheating on you for 6 months. She's been acting weird. She's been going to the gym at odd hours. She doesn't come home at night. And when she does, she's all fucking disheveled. But you can't quite pinpoint what is going on, even though you're pretty much fucking sure. And all your you tell your friends, like, I'm pretty sure my girlfriend's cheating on you. And they're like, yeah, dude, like, definitely. But you haven't caught him in that one fucking moment. And then one thing happens where you find a suspicious text that pretty much says the whole story. I mean, it's not 100%, but it paints a pretty fucking clear picture. And from that point on, all of these back issues explode and they're pushed into the forefront. And that's essentially what's going on here. It's not about the Catalyst event. The Catalyst event was just the very first, very clear point in which we could say we've had enough of this thing growing. We've had enough of journalism being in bed with small devs. It's just weird that of all the amazing and artful games out there, that fucking Depression Quest gets all of the coverage that it does. And there's only two possible reasons. One, there's only three possible reasons. One, it's actually an awesome, life-changing game. I've played it. It's fucking not. I don't care how nice you're being. It's fucking not. It is amateur at best. And I'm not talking about the content. I am talking about the structure and the quality of the game itself. And I fucking used to play MUDs. I have no problem with text-based games. But that game was a 2-hour afternoon work piece of shit that broke its arm trying to pat itself on the back and made everybody who played it feel like shit. And then they're like, yeah, that's the point. That's a terrible product. That's like shitting on a canvas and calling it art. You're simply taking advantage of people's fucking ego and inability to stand up in a crowd and disagree with mob mentality. It's exploitation on a mass scale. And for everybody to jump in and say, this game is fucking awesome, seemed ridiculously suspect. So either I
should say it was not everybody. It's just a lot of the big gaming publications, and then the other 90% of people are like, no, this is crap. What the fuck you guys talking about?
Yeah, like there was a huge discrepancy. Like that, there is no way that game was worthy of all the attention that it gets. And then all of this stuff comes to the surface, and everybody's like, oh, okay, here's what the fuck is going on. And in response, just like a cheating girlfriend, they start throwing accusations and saying you're a terrible person. Like it's. If you look at the behavior of human beings, none of this is surprising. In fact, it is all 110% by the book of how a cheating woman works. And that's
and those that are profiting off of it know this. It's just basic consumer psychology, But more than that, I know that you were talking about changing the discussion itself. Well, everybody knows that in the music industry, it's illegal to have payola, to pay program directors and DJs to play your music.
Which they
Why
do
isn't
do
that
that.
the case in video games? Yeah, they still do. But if you get caught, you're talking about stiff fines, jail time, all this stuff. Why isn't it like that in the gaming industry?
Well, it should be. It should.
And that's what we're fighting for. Is we're fighting for that kind of regulation. It's the fact that nobody thought gaming was a big deal until Call of Duty fucking broke $1 billion ceiling, and then all of a sudden, every other media company start looking at gaming with hungry eyes. And the problem is it blew up so fast and so exponentially that it never got the regulation that other things have. And that's an issue. And the people who are pushing this one-sided kind of unregulated environment don't want any kind of regulation. They don't want to not be able to give people tablets when they go to a conference. Like that's just kind of fucked up stuff, and we as consumers should constantly be aware of that and constantly lynch anybody who tries to fucking do that, because it so easily happens, and we all have to be a part of this. And it's weird that the gaming is the only facet of media, and it was the last facet that this corruption spread to, and it was the only facet that actually stood up and fought back.
Oh,
and
but there's a reason why, because like you said, it happened so fast. With other media, it took years and decades for the corruption to seep in. This was like fast.
See, I don't understand. Like, nobody really paid attention when Jeff Gertzman got fired from GameSpot, right? For the Kane Lynch, scandal, right? And he got let go, whatever. There should have been like mountains of anger over that. There was obviously dirty money going on there. The reason he wrote an honest review, and they went, you can't do that because guess who's lining our pockets? Guys who publish Kane and Lynch. So it's like, this should have started a whole conversation about money in game journalism. Where is the money coming from, right? And that conversation never happened because the money's too good. And that's what needs to change.
It's the way it went with Jeff Gertzman. It was like, oh, okay, this corruption's happening. It's out there. All right. Moving on. I guess it's all good because that was the only situation it happened in.
Yeah. And then, by the time Gamergate happened, there was already a bunch of incidents where this shit happened. So that was the tipping point. But you're right. I said that to him. I'm like, why didn't the Jeff Gertzman thing kick this thing off, man? I remember being like really pissed off. I'm like, wait, he wrote an honest review and he got fired. Think about that. It happened.
It's because Jeff Gertzman doesn't have any boobs.
It's because they also treat the way it was treated as an isolated incident, as opposed to hasn't anybody thought that this might be happening other places? Are you telling me in good conscience that a company that is slapping you in the face with a bunch of ads for a specific video game isn't going to say something like, you can't give this a certain rating?
Come on.
There were other incidents. There was EGM got called out for giving favorable reviews when, obviously there was huge discrepancies with their reviews and everyone else's reviews of certain games. They got called out for taking bribes, right? It was a problem, but it was just being ignored or pushed under the rug because again, there's money involved. And when there's money involved,
remember Dorito Gate? That was the other thing. People were like, wait, what the fuck? Like, why is Jeff Keighley a gaming journalist? Like, pimping Call of Duty with the fucking Doritos and Mountain Dew behind him. Like, people, I think that started a little bit of like, hey, wait a minute. And going back, man, to what you said, it's one of those things. It's like, okay, how is it an isolated incident? To me, that's like the equivalent of like, if you find one roach in your apartment, there's probably hundreds more.
And I think the other thing with Jeff Keighley, they mistake him for a journalist. He is not a journalist. He is a personality. That is what he is.
Yeah,
so personalities can have all those silly things like that. Because has he write any articles?
He doesn't write nothing. He just does videos.
What he does is he hosts. So he's a personality, not a journalist.
I want to. You know what? Go ahead.
It's like calling Johnny Carson a journalist. He is not a journalist. He's a host.
Or calling Jon Stewart like he's not a journalist.
Jon Stewart is not a journalist either. He's a host of a show. That's what.
Right. Go ahead because I got a good point to make here. Go ahead.
I forgot what I was saying. Go ahead.
Okay. Here's the other thing people need to understand, and I hope I don't get anybody. Actually, no, I'm pretty sure I'm going to get people.
You're going to get everybody offended. I'm offended now.
There you go.
The thing is, a little bit playing devil's advocate, a little bit, just slightly. It's like why are I'm even asking myself this too. Why are you so mad that these people are so corrupt when they aren't fucking journalists? They're not journalists at all. So how can you? No, Brett, let me finish. So how can you honestly get? Okay, I mean, actually, I understand why you're mad because you're still, doing the monkey thing. You're giving them the fucking grapes. But basically, these people are not up to the same standards as an actual journalist because they're not journalists. But then you have actual journalists that are corrupt as shit. So why wouldn't these fake journalists be corrupt as shit too? I just wanted to pose that question.
Okay, here's the problem. There's a slow erosion of cynicism that comes in, and maybe we've all determined that I'm the indomitable optimist and fine, I'm full of hope and I'm ridiculous. But here's the fucking thing that gets me. everybody says to me, like, well, yeah, but you kind of know that those are corrupt. Like, everybody knows the media's bought and sold, that all news is, kind of filtered. And it's like, yeah, okay, I get that, and let's put aside the fact that, A, I'm not fucking happy with that, but there comes a certain point where you make small concession after small concession after small concession, and then you look back at a landmark event, something fucking carved in stone that you wrote to yourself, a note in the sidewalk, so to speak, from years past, that you cannot help but notice that you are standing 180 degrees at odd with that thing that you wrote to yourself. And that is kind of what we're happening here. A gaming review magazine should be, by its very nature, unbiased. If it is not, then it is not an actual review. It is an opinion. And to masquerade yourself as a journalist in a periodical or in an article or even a fucking review when it is not, it is a glorified bought and sold sales pitch, has never been okay. And that's the problem, is somehow, yeah, like, oh, we all know that they've been like this, but yeah, okay, so they've been like this, and now they've come in, and they've snuck in during the night, and they fucking took all the actual journalists, and they drained them dry, and now they're just walking around in them like Egger suits. That's fine. I get that. The alien has taken Egger. Where are the fucking Eggers, though? There's no Eggers left. There's just Egger suits, and that's what pisses me off. There are no journalists left. There's all these fucking charlatans.
I got to jump in there, Brett. I got to jump in there, man. And I'm not waving the flag for journalism, even though my background largely is that. And I feel you as though, having a gaming review magazine that's full of advertorials isn't really quality. The whole consensus that comes from the media room is that they would love to be unbiased and non-opinionated when it comes to the hard-boiled news and giving you the straight to the heart of the matter, the facts. But the problem is that the public just doesn't support enough. They don't put enough money in the pockets of beat writers and copy editors and managing editors so that they can do this in a fair way. When you're looking at a paltry amount that comes in from subscriptions or tips or whatnot from the general public, and then you look at, the tablets that you get going to these events, or, a monetary contribution from a corporation, the reality is you got to eat. And like I said, I'm not condoning it. I'm just speaking from someone who's been there and seen it firsthand, sitting down in these meetings where they're like, okay, well, we're going to place these ads here on your editorial calendar, and we want you to write in this tone. And matter of fact, we'll probably just have one of our in-house writers write the article for you, and you just post it.
Yeah, see, that's my problem, is that I understand you can't just go and hang yourself, and I wouldn't expect that. Business has to be run, markup happens, revenue streams, all that good stuff, and I think any reasonable adult has to understand that. The problem is they don't distinguish what is actually news from what is actually opinion, and they do so flagrantly to the point where it seems like they are trying to intentionally confuse their readers as to what's news and what's rumors and what's opinion and what's advertisement.
But they can't, because if they do that, you'll basically TiVo the whole organization. Like, every new article they come out where they say, okay, they put a disclaimer, this one has been sponsored. Okay, I'm gonna skip that one. And I'm gonna skip this one. And I'm gonna skip that one. Pretty soon the clicks aren't adding up. The advertisers are pulling their money, and then that's what you're left with. So they have to camouflage it. And I'm not saying, again, I'm not saying it's okay. It's the way of business, and especially I think that a large part of the issues comes from the consumer looking at these reviews as being more than what they really are, which is basically a bunch of text surrounding keywords. When you're looking at these articles.
Yeah, I've always said that game reviews are always opinions anyway. You shouldn't see them as like an objective thing, because they're not. They're one person's opinion. Everybody has different tastes. By the way, I need to say this real quick. This whole thing about, like, okay, we need to do this to sell papers. This is the reason J. Jonah Jameson's always shitting on Spider-Man. No one's gonna buy Daily Bugle if he loves Spider-Man. You got to sell the controversy. That's what I'm thinking.
J. Jonah Jameson can't not like, you know, he has to hate Spider-Man.
J. Jonah Jameson is Anita Sarkeesian.
For superheroes.
I actually don't have any problems with Spider-Man, but he sells papers, so I hate Spider-Man.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's basically what's going on here. Okay, I guess just to wrap up this whole thing, because we could probably go on for another hour for this shit. How do you... okay, actually, this is the point I wanted to make. One of the big problems that happen here is nobody fucking talked to each other. Most of this thing happened on Twitter. 140 characters, you got to get your point across, and you're usually missing a lot of subtext, right? So everyone's just screaming at each other, and I think we've gotten to the point where we can't even really sit down and discuss it. I'm pretty sure if we actually sat down and discussed shit like actual fucking adults, we could probably get shit done. But again, that doesn't sell fucking money.
There's two factors. That involves having some sort of leadership.
Exactly.
Where somebody could say something, actually a representative of this thing, to stand there and say, hey, I am the representative of this, and this is what we're going to talk about this. That's the first thing that needed to happen.
Yeah, we're beyond the point. But the thing is, there are some quote-unquote representatives, and every time, by the way, I find this ironic, every single time they have a meeting together, they had two so far, a bomb threat gets magically called. That's something. And yet nobody reports on this yet. I'm pretty sure if Anita Sarkeesian, every time she gets harassed, reported everywhere. So there's a skew there, you know. And no one's going to give in an inch. That's the problem. No one's going to budge.
Well, the thing is that a lot of the journalists who've seen this thing have also used their power to be heard to already shade what it should look, what all of it looks like.
Yeah.
You know? It's like, oh, hey, well, you don't like this. Well, you're total sexist. You're fucking racist.
Yeah, it's just like they're stopping the conversation.
You stop the conversation.
You know, people like Ben Kuchera, they excel at that. You know, you're this if you don't agree with me. You're that if you don't agree with me. It's like, damn, dude, like, really? What the hell's wrong with you? So, yeah, I don't really see any kind of, like, solution to this. The only thing I would tell people is, like, you know what, play your games, but at the same time, somebody, if you see bullshit, call them out on it. Don't just be silent. We can't have, you know, like Chris, like you said, the whole Jeff Gerstmann thing, everybody kept quiet about that. Don't be quiet anymore. Speak out. You don't have to do it all the fucking time. You don't have to be a professional at it, but, you know, speak out when you see injustice. You know, you see people getting grapes, call them out on that shit. You know, when you get a piece of shit, you know, you're getting a fucking grazing instead, you know?
Yeah. It would suck if they were all in the bed together, pun intended.
Oh, man. All right, so, yeah, we just had to go over that again. It's like I said, things have changed, but at the same time, they haven't changed. Like, they changed in the fact that people are more vigilant now, which is good, but at the same time, these journalists haven't learned a damn lesson. And the only thing is now you have disclaimers at the end of everything. That's the only thing they've learned, you know? It's crazy.
Yeah, well, I mean, there should have been disclaimers in the first place.
Yeah.
Plain and simple.
It's insanity. All right. Let's move on here to some news. Another slow week, but we got some shit here. Two of these are from the girl you may know, Chris. Kristen, she hooked me up with some stories. So
she told me.
A
story.
All right. So the first one is Nintendo backing away from quality of life initiative? Yeah, it seems that way. I mean, where's the fucking vitality sensor, the Wii U, and all? You know, it's like all that shit's going away.
That vitality sensor was just bullshit to begin with. That was just something that they were working on. It wasn't going to be anywhere.
Yeah, but I mean, because the whole thing was started by Iwata, rest in peace again, because he wanted to, you know, get people to be healthier. That's why the Wii had, you know, moving shit and had Wii, you know, the fucking fitness shit for the Wii. They had all that stuff.
The balance board, yeah.
Yeah, Chris, you could expound on this. So yeah.
Well, no, it's pretty much dead. Like the idea of all that quality of life stuff was to really, at the end of the day, push more hardware, right? So to make the Wii U more interactive, to do more of the stuff they had done before with the Wii, with the balance board and all that, and the motion controls. But I didn't see the point, because it's like they were going off in this direction. Like we're gonna blue ocean this further and do all this like quality of life stuff to keep people healthy and you know, focus on that. And it's like, but you're losing your core business, and like things are falling apart, and you're focusing on this odd thing, right? Which now it seems like, okay, Iwata has passed away, and now it seems like they're like, okay, well, we'll backpedal on that now and kind of refocus our efforts. They're probably just going to refocus their efforts on mobile, and like this is all done. You know, it's like it's the road now ahead, which who knows if it's even a road that's going to have a happy ending, is the NX and their mobile initiatives, and that's it.
I'm thinking about the road ahead. It's like, does the road, like, does it just stop eventually, you know, to some wasteland? I don't know, man. But yeah, that vitality sensor, that's, you know, I think you're right, man. It was just a bunch of bullshit. It was never gonna take off.
Mm-hmm.
Chazz, you got any anything to say about this?
No. I mean, the thing about it is, it's one of those things where you're looking at an extremely niche market for the product, right? So unless you're someone who's going to be a step beyond, like, Wii Sports, it ain't really for you. So let it die.
Yeah, that's exactly what's happening. All right, by Brett's silence, I'm guessing he doesn't care, so we shall move on.
Well, I mean, it's they're moving away from a
thing you didn't care about.
It wasn't making them any money.
Well, it wasn't even there to make them money in the first place.
It wasn't even there, exactly.
Yeah, it wasn't there. If they thought that Wii Fit was going to be this evergreen thing that lasted forever, and was going to grow into this alternate revenue stream, they were delusional.
But you know what, though? Here's a quick point I'm gonna put right here on that. If they were smart, they would turn the angle to be more like the Apple Watch, bring back a Nintendo Watch-esque thing, and then coordinate it.
I don't even, Nintendo would bundle that.
They're terrible with peripherals. They don't have the detail or the attention to quality or listening to people that Apple does. Apple does tons of research and figures things out, and they're very good. Whatever you think about Apple stuff, they're very good with design, right? And they make stuff that appeals to people. But Nintendo doesn't do that, and they're not good with peripherals. Every peripheral they have is like a one-shot. It's like a one-shot deal that maybe works with one game, and you're lucky if it works with anything else, and they'll forget about it next week, right? The only thing they haven't done that with is Amiibo, and the whole idea of Amiibos has gotten twisted now. And I wrote a whole editorial how it's a nice collectible toy, and that's exactly what it's become now. It's not about the game. It's not about connecting it with Smash Brothers and doing cool things in Mario Kart. It was never about that. It's toys. It's about having a nice figure on your table at the end of the day. They're gonna make 50 more Amiibos of what? What does it connect to? Does the games even matter anymore? The answer is no.
Man. Everything you said came true, man. Every single bit of it.
Yeah. So that's where they're focused now, and they're gonna make more toys. They're going to make more toys, and they're going to market more mobile stuff. And when the NX comes out, it's going to be a huge disappointment. And that's the road ahead for them.
No, Chris, don't do it to it, man. We gotta love the NX, man, because, man, Nintendo is your little brother, right? Your little brother who keeps on messing up at school, and you kind of pull him up to the side, like, look, if you keep on, Mom ain't gonna let you play the game no more. No, Mom, I'm gonna do what I want to do. Okay, then, hey. Hands off, man. Do what you do.
Yeah, that's it. Nintendo's more like the retarded little brother, but you know.
Whoa!
Easy.
Whoa!
It's like the kid. You want him to do well, but it's like, oh man, again, man, you shit your pants again, man, really.
He's the kid from The Wizard, only he never made it to California.
Yeah.
And he ended up on a milk carton and we warned him. It's like, what happened to that kid?
Oh man, Nintendo always, because we used to love Nintendo and they fucked up. All right, move on from this suppressing bullshit. Okay, Konami. Konami. So they're letting YouTubers post Let's Plays of Metal Gear Solid 5. Is this a new trend? And this goes back to the thing we're talking about, how people don't trust journalists anymore. They trust YouTube guys. That's who people trust now. So I'm not surprised that Konami decided to fly all these YouTube guys, including Yanya. That's the shit he went to.
We actually told us a little bit about this beforehand, after the show.
We can talk about it now because he's been posting pictures.
He's posting pictures of it. So what did they do? They literally invited every single high priority YouTube guy over there. That includes Greg Miller, who is now officially a YouTuber. That includes friggin' Game Grumps, Ego Raptor, Yang Yeah, all those guys, YouTube personalities.
Yeah, because these are people that are genuinely excited for the game, that they're going to hype it up to their fans. It's actually a very smart move to do that.
They're doing something that's because again, the public opinion affects their sales. If people think that Konami is this horrible, evil Prime Lord monster corporation, people are probably not going to try to support it. So that's why their strategy as of late has been to go to the fan community, which is hitting YouTubers, hitting guys like myself who draw a lot of Metal Gear fan art. That's what they're doing. They're trying to help their image by being more open to more fan things.
Yeah.
Well, you know what? I gotta say for that, even to tie it back into the whole Gamergate thing, like this is the opportunity for young guys that are have smaller outlets to really take the carcasses of the old and toss them aside and become the new guard. Let's just hope they do it the right way. And this is I think could be a really big step in making that happen.
Oh yeah, for sure, man. I mean, this is like the new wave right now. The PR is getting tired of old journalists and their ways. They're these snotty kind of guys. They're tired of that shit. That's why they love dudes like Hip Hop Gamer, as crazy as he is. They love him because he brings enthusiasm, and his fans get excited for the games. That's what they want. They don't want these like stodgy guys like, oh yeah, giving their games 5 out of 6s, like 5 out of 10s or whatever. Like, come on, man. Like, they don't want that, and I see it too. Like,
I'm sure you remember the whole controversy with Metal Gear Solid 4, where they were like, oh yeah, there are these really long cinematics and they don't want to talk about it and all this other stuff. I think it'd be a little bit different if you actually had a person who was a fan of the Metal Gear series talking about it. Someone who actually understood the way the series works, rather than trying to say what's wrong with it because it has these cinematics. That's just expected.
But at the same time, it does cater the message to what they want, because if they get super fans are not going to say anything negative either. So it's Konami's in that regard.
People, especially with YouTubers, they usually say, Greg Miller will say if a game is bad.
Yeah, Greg Miller will, but I'm talking about some of the, let's just be honest, some of the more inexperienced guys, they may be like, oh shit, they flew me out there. You made me be nice.
Mm-hmm.
So there's that to worry about too. But I think overall, that's where gaming is going now, YouTube and Twitch and stuff, that sort of stuff.
I think people tend to trust a lot of those guys there because most of the people who do these things are just people who do it in their houses, sit in front of their monitors and do their little show. Yeah. So it seems inherently it might seem a little bit honest, but I'm definitely sure that a lot of them, they're still people who do YouTube videos and stuff aren't. That doesn't mean that they're going to be any more honest than the guys who do those things. If somebody comes over to you with a big old fat check and said, "You're going to like this game,"
exactly.
I don't know if I buy that. Like I don't know. Like a lot of people like that base their whole revenue stream off of being brutally honest about games. Like I can pretty much tell where Yahtzee is always coming from. I can always tell where Total Biscuit is coming from.
Definitely Yahtzee and Total Biscuit are people that will be like, oh yeah, sure. But I mean, wasn't there a scandal not long ago with Machinima?
Yeah,
right?
There was, and some YouTube guys too.
YouTube guys, which was just exactly that. They were getting their palms greased for certain to not say certain things. Or say certain things.
Yeah, so corruption's everywhere. It's just human
corruption
nature.
Does happen, but it's just in general. Usually, the guys that are doing these YouTube videos are looking for honesty in general. They're looking for like, I'm not IGN. I'm not, GameSpot.
Well, yeah, but I mean, after that happened to Machinima, like they lost a lot of their viewers, right? Like they kind of paid the price. Like it's kind of reminds me of the whole Bear Grylls thing when he got caught sleeping at a Holiday Inn.
Yeah.
Like, well, that's kind of the opposite of what you told everybody, so say goodbye to your fan base, and it went that way, and that's honestly the best we can do. Like,
I felt really bad for him because I watched Man vs. Wild, and I'm like, I seen this guy squeeze animal dung into his mouth to get water. All right, I think he deserves a Holiday Inn for one night. All right,
he does, like, but he didn't tell people he was staying.
Well, number one, Bear Grylls' show was like the action version of survival. Like, he'd jump over some shit, but he never went out there and survived. Go to fucking Survivor Man. Now that's the real shit. He was the guy who was going out there, only man out there with his 10 cameras.
No,
his 2 cameras.
No, Survivor Man was great because
that
he was
dude was
the real
serious.
deal. Like, yeah, but Bear Grylls taught you stuff too. Like Survivor Man would show you stuff, but he was always like eating bugs. He's like, protein or something.
Yeah, well,
Bear Grylls was like, I'm gonna jump off this mountain and show you how to not die.
Yeah, but then I'd see a YouTube that, like, he'd be like, I'm jumping this huge crevice, and then you'd like see him start on one side and cut over to the other side and be like, all right, now I fashioned a series of ropes from sticks and twigs you can see here, and then I catch a YouTube video of like somebody standing on one side of the exact same crag, and then they pan out, and like literally the crag stops 4 feet in front of the camera. Just the way it was shot, you can't tell, and you're like, motherfucker just stood up, walked around the crag, and dropped down the other side.
Well, you see, but the thing is that Bear Grylls' show is set up as entertainment. That should have been a surprise as to any of the stuff that any of the stuff was staged for him.
Yeah, there was a lot of competition between Bear Grylls and Les Strauss in terms of like, who's more badass.
All I'm going to say is at least Les Strauss showed all those fucked up moments too, where he's like in the forest, he's got fucking bad diarrhea. He's like, listen, I'm going to cut out. He's like, I'm like sick out here. I'm going to call in for the helicopter. And then he'll leave the fucking cameras there. Bear Grylls is just like, hey, how you doing, guys? I'm gonna jump off this mountain.
It's like, dude, if you're trying to survive,
dude, when he was like, this is how you fashion a life vest out of a pair of pants now to the bottom, and then jumps into a river, and you're like, wait a minute, he's also wearing a life vest. That son of a bitch.
See, here's my question, though, guys. My question is, would you respect more the guy that says, hey, I'm ad-supported, or the guy that puts on kid gloves with these reviews and doesn't hit quite as hard as he could?
Well, I don't mind the ad stuff because you got to pay the bills, If you're honest, I don't care.
Having ads is not a problem. Having the ad revenue studios affect your opinion about something, that is a problem.
But if you notice, that's what that is when you see this review sponsored by Nintendo of America or something like that. Like, that wouldn't clue you in.
Yeah, well, of course it clues you in. But if you notice a lot of
I'm not talking about you, but I mean just in general. Like,
no. A review should not be sponsored.
Yeah,
the
if you notice, a lot of the guys that are on YouTube are sponsored by things that are not gaming either. They're sponsored by things like the Loot Crate or other things that are not really fully gaming related.
Yeah. Or even if they are, they're peripherals like Gunnar glasses or Triton headphones. It's they're not affiliated with one game. It's just a peripheral.
Exactly.
Yeah, if gaming sets were like sponsored by Tyson Chicken or something, nobody would be having a problem.
Well, there's also a pecking order. Like if you ask me, I think it would probably be first people would go to the sites where like Total Biscuit or like Yahtzee, people who build their own revenue, build their own fan base out of partially being known for hamstringing games when they're terrible. After that, I would go to sponsored sites until I found out a site was sponsored without divulging that information, at which point I won't give them any of my business. So if you're going to take revenue from video games, the option then becomes, do you want some of my business or none of my business? And I think that's kind of been proven. Like, every time these people are caught, like, a lot of times people bottom out on them. And it's if you aren't offering a true package, then don't say you're offering a true package. And that doesn't even cut IGN out. Like, why can't IGN have like a brutally honest IGN corner and publicly espouse that everything in this review section is brutally honest, unsponsored, off the table kind of reviews that are strictly opinions from people who have played and enjoy or hate this game? Like and then you could go in and just kind of do what we do here. Like I can talk shit on a video game all day long, all fucking day long, and it's not going to really affect on the coalition because I'm a personality. I'm just some jackass that's on here. Granted, I like to rant about stuff, but that doesn't mean that anything that I say coalition is held accountable for. So yeah, they can take money from Borderlands 7, and I could be like, dude, that game is a steaming pile of shit. And there's not a conflict of interest because we are an entertainment show. We speak opinions. We have a fucking disclaimer at the beginning of our show. But other people also know, and I will be brutally honest, nobody fucking gives me money. I don't get review copies of anything. So when I spend money on a game that sucks, I'm pissed about it. And I come here and tell you. And that's what a lot of people want to listen to. And like that's the people that I've talked to, that's what they want to hear from me. And so I'm like, all right, like everybody says, or everybody tells me, like, dude, my favorite thing that you can do is get really angry about something and get on your soapbox, and because like then I know you're being real and I know you're being honest. So fuck it, I get up on my soapbox and I get pissed about stuff and I vent it here. But if you guys found out that I was taking money from somebody or getting free review copies, and I'm like, man, this game is awesome, and all of a sudden all saccharine and sweet, you would have absolutely every right to get really pissed. And here's the thing that pisses me off. It's not about, like, lying isn't just about telling somebody something completely opposite from the truth. It's also about curating an image or curating an idea and then going against the grain of that idea without being as forthright as you previously has been. There is a lot of subtlety and subtext and varying degrees to lying. And just because somebody doesn't blatantly say, I'm not eating a cookie while they're eating a cookie, doesn't mean that earlier that day they didn't be like, I would never eat a cookie, and then fucking eat a cookie and not say anything. They're like, well, I didn't lie to you because you didn't ask me if I ate that cookie. Yeah, motherfucker, you knew very well that we had just talked about this and set an idea, a precedent of an idea that you do not eat cookies, and then you keep your goddamn mouth shut during this. Like, it's very clearly manipulating people, even if it's not outright lying to you. And I take offense when somebody's like, oh, well, they're not lying to you, or it's only business. We all know it has to be like that. Like, no, we don't. Call me old-fashioned, and I know I sound like a fucking grandpa when I say that, but I don't goddamn care. Call me old-fashioned, but when I go to a place for a review of a video game, maybe I don't want the people who are reviewing the video game to have a biased opinion because that person is paying them. And I don't think that not having that is too much to ask, considering that's the very nature of a review. And if whatever you're telling me, and what I'm hearing is that reviews just aren't going to exist anymore because they're not monetarily feasible, to that I say bullshit. That it's only a niche that hasn't opened up because these charlatans are pretending to be reviewers when they're not, and they have a good deal of people fooled, and they know very well that if they put cards on the table and said, we are not actually reviewing video games because we are sponsored by these people, that they would lose their business. They know they are fooling people. They know that their entire revenue stream is about misinformation, and if they came clean, they would lose all of it, which is why they don't. And for some reason, we all give this horrible kind of behavior a pass because, dude's got to make a buck at the end of the day. No, fuck you. You're a liar, and you're making money off of being a liar. I don't have to think that's right. I don't care if the rest of the world does. I call that fucking integrity. Fuck you and the horse you rode in on. Either give me an honest review when you're telling me you're giving me an honest review, or say you're an entertainment publication and be fucking upfront about it. Don't put it in the small print. Don't subtly stop calling your thing reviews. Don't stop, don't change your name from Game Informer to IGN because you don't actually inform people about games. That's all gray, shady tactic shit. And nobody should be accepting it. And the fact that all of us sit there and say, well, that's just the kind of behavior that can be expected, is the reason the world isn't a fucking better place. It's because we don't hold people to task, and we don't hold people to rights. And this comes from a fucking Lynch, the people who invented hanging people. My family invented hanging people by the mayor hanging his own son in the fucking town square because nobody else would do it. My family knows about cutting off your nose to spite your face.
All right, Brett, I think you get another one of these. Fantastic, man. Well, yeah. By the way, the whole time I'm hearing you say this stuff, I'm just thinking about because basically these guys, that's how it is. So the reviews they're just opinions. Now, they've always kind of been, but they are more now so than ever. But they're trying to say that it's the actual word. That's the problem. Just be honest about it. Like, just like you said, just be honest about it, dude. Like, hey, this is my fucking opinion. And that's why people like the YouTube guys. They know that's not an unbiased review. Like, hey, I like this guy. I trust this guy. I'm going to trust his opinion on the review. You know?
Yeah, exactly. Like, nobody wants an unbiased, like, I absolutely agree. A review is an opinion, but it should be a consistent opinion from a source that you've come to rely on and trust. And there's a very distinct difference between an opinion and being paid to have an opinion.
No, I agree.
That is one way or the other. That is called public relations or advertisement. And I'm not buying a book of advertisements. I made the concession already that advertisements were going to be in the goddamn magazine. And then they took up half the magazine. And now the articles themselves are also advertisements. And I look down and I realize everything cover to cover in this thing is a fucking advertisement. There's no longer any substance in here. And I cancel my subscription. And then all this happens, and they're like, oh, well, we better clickbait more, which is the worst fucking decision you can make.
Here's the problem with gaming, quote-unquote, journalism. 90% of the shit you read is fucking advertisement. Whenever you see a news post, that's a fucking ad. Like, even this way, I try not to do too much news, because when I write news, I'm very cognizant of the fact that I'm shilling for a fucking company, even though I'm not getting paid for it. If I post a trailer, what am I doing? I'm advertising. If I write a news story about this, I'm fucking advertising. Most of it is fucking advertising, dude. And it's sickening. I don't like it. Yeah.
No, there's a difference between supporting something that you like and approve of and advertising. You know, like, I would support, like, I'll do it right now. Bloodborne is an amazing game, ladies and gentlemen. The graphics on it are beautiful. The combat is super tight, and it will ruin the combat mechanics in every other video game you play for the next month. It's that good. If you haven't played it, go out and play it. Now, I didn't do that because they were giving me money. Yeah, in a way, what I just did was a sort of advertisement, but that's because I feel like I honestly got my value and a little bit more out of Bloodborne. It was a great game, and I think everybody should experience it, and that's a fan's point of view, not an advertisement. If it makes them money, then so be it. But it's not an advertisement because nobody paid me to do it. It's of my own volition that I give this thumbs up or this review or this pat on the back or whatever you want to call it, because I feel that it's earned it. I've put now 400 hours in Ark. Yes, go buy Ark because it's awesome. I only gave them $20 and I played for 400 hours. I quite frankly feel like I've robbed these people. Like, it is obscene. So yeah, I will freely tell people to go do that. I will tell people that any of the last weird Resident Evil spin-offs, like, fuck those things. They're janky pieces of shit, and they're a blatant attempt at cash grabbing. You know, I will tell people that most of the same thing about a lot of the remakes, or, you know, some of these games that I've played that have been fucking awful. Like, I say good things about a video game because I want to, not because I have to. And you can say a good thing about a video game because you have to. But when you tell me you're saying a good thing about a video game because you want to, and then I find out that you're saying it because you have to, then that means you're lying to me. And I hate to put it in black and white situations, but these people have slowly changed and curated the image of, we're giving you a review, and they don't give you reviews, which is lying to you. And I have the same beef with that I have with the movie World War Z. It's not that it's a terrible movie. Yeah, they gave you exactly what Hollywood generally does. A shallow storyline, Brad Pitt saving his family, blah-de-blah-de-blah, fucking wank-wank, B-movie at best. Okay, I don't harbor any particular resentment to World War Z, the movie.
Uh-oh,
Freudian slip right there.
Yep. My particular issue with it is that now that World War Z has been made into a movie that has absolutely nothing to do with the book on which it's based, we will not see a movie based on the book World War Z. It has essentially taken over the niche in the ecosystem that movie would play, and has pushed out the original thing. And that's kind of the issue that we're running into now.
Yeah, but, you know, the point I was trying to make is, like, it's unfortunate, but it's true. Most video game writing is just a fucking ad. You know, you get sent a press release and you got to post it. Whether you like it or not, you got to do it because you got to inform people who care about it.
But do we really all believe that there is no place in today's world for an honest review of a video game, and that there is no way to monetize that appropriately without selling out to the people whom you are advertising to in the first place? Are you telling me that there is no way that I can get a review or somebody can make an honest review without a heavy conflict of interest and directly lying to the consumer base? Because I kind of fucking refuse to believe that.
I do think there is. This is what I've been saying. It's like to get the money out of the conversation, not to get all money out of it. I'm not saying everybody just fucking do it for free. It's that you can have ad revenue, but it can't be directly related to the game. I cannot. If I was reviewing a game, I cannot take money from Sony and then say the Order 1886 is the best thing ever made. Like, that's not cool. But I could take money from, I don't know, Nutri-Grain bars and say, like, hey, after the video, I have a Nutri-Grain bar. You know, it has nothing to do with what I think of the game. You know, I can't take money from, like, Red Bull because that's, like, it has nothing to do with the game. As long as Red Bull doesn't come to me and say, hey, the Order 1886 is the best thing you ever played, drink Red Bull. And it's like, no, I'm not going to say that, you know.
Yeah, that's something Manny's always talked about. It's like, you know, if gaming, publications had ads that weren't about games, we probably wouldn't have this problem. You know,
that's what I think. I mean, if they weren't exactly there weren't ads for, that were directly funding these things from like video games, I definitely think the story it'd be a different story. It's like, hey, go buy a Buick. Yeah, Buick.
Like, okay, cool. What do you think of the order?
Yeah,
what do you think of the order?
Yeah, but being honest, it's like Tony, what's the last game you had Fury about? What's the last game you're like, fuck this game?
Oh shit. I don't know if it was Fury, but I was definitely pissed off about it. That fucking bullshit Resident Evil Resident Evil Revelations 2, and I got sent that for free, and I still gave it a shitty review.
There you go, right? But it's like, what if Sunmaid came to you and gave you free raisins, or they paid you to advertise raisins? You wouldn't give a shit. That has nothing to do with Resident Evil. It's like, by the way, I'm munching on raisins. It doesn't matter.
Actually, that's how you know I got paid off, because I fucking hate raisins.
I'm just throwing out an example, but like, yeah. But if Capcom came to you and said, like, hey, Tony, here's a nice paycheck, say nice things about Resident Evil, that's different.
Oh, no, man. I want that money, but at the same time, I can't be lying to people, man. That's not cool. I don't have a problem going, oh, yeah, this review is sponsored by these bullshit raisins. I don't have a problem with that, but it's like, oh, yeah, Capcom. No one would say that, by the way. No one would go, oh, yeah, Capcom paid me to give a nice review. No one would ever say that shit, Oh, man. But, okay, Brett, to answer your question, yes, there is, because you see a bunch of guys do it all the time. The independent dudes, they give you the honestest of reviews, but at the same time, they don't make any money. So you're asking, can you get paid and be honest? I think so. There are guys that are still like, hey, I get paid. You know what? I don't give a fuck. I'm going to tell you exactly what I feel. So that's still out there. But at the same time, there's still a lot of other guys that are like, hey, man, let me give them a nice review because they paid me money.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's definitely possible, that kind of revenue model. Is it probable? Not so much. Unless there's, some sort of product placement within the game that you highlight by accident. I just don't really see that go, because like with the raisins, unless raisins pop up in the game, you see Cloud walking with his sword, and then he drops a couple raisins, and there's a zoom in on it or something like that. You're not really going to see it in game. So for the reviewer to be able to put reviews out and have the kind of reach that these larger corporation-backed entities have, like there has to be something, whether it be donations or ad block begging, or however you do it.
I'm thinking about Need for Speed Underground, which was one of my favorite games. That game had ads up the ass, man. Like every time you get a new message, it'd be a T-Mobile message. There'd be actual real ads in the billboards and shit. But that's for the developers. They're trying to get their money. But yeah, it's always seemed shady. It's like, hey, I want to read the review of Kane and Lynch. Hey, there's ads for Kane and Lynch over the page. Ooh, Kane and Lynch gets a 9. That's a great game. That's a problem right there, and you're right. It's like, how do people not see that? It's in your face, man. Get the fuck out of here. Meanwhile, the real dudes are like, yo, Kane and Lynch is a piece of shit, guys. What are you talking about? Oh, man. All right.
So to answer Brett's question, though, I think that you're basically forced, if you want completely 100% real, you're forced to go to the hobbyists.
Yeah, but it shouldn't be that way, and like
shouldn't be that way,
that's what
but,
frustrates me.
Yeah, I feel you, because you want the guys that are professionals to be honest, but there's a chance they're not going to be. That's the problem.
Yeah,
And then
well,
with
and again, I think that the problem with that is, that they're pulling revenue off the wrong thing. Like the revenue should be, in Tony's instance, it should be Tony. People should go to Tony because they trust what he says, and he builds a following, and he builds trust with those people, just like a good old school journalist does, much the same way. And that they know that people come to him, so that by showcasing the game, that they will get more exposure, and so that they come to him knowing that Tony sells the product. It's not that he's pushing the product. Does that make any?
Oh yeah. I mean, you see that with Total Biscuit and shit. You see that even there's a bunch of guys like that. Like they know, even Hip Hop Gamer. There's another one. These gaming companies give him games to review, even though he's going to give every game a positive review anyway. But they know that he has a following, and people will go to him and listen to him. So I guess that's okay, as long as it's like, okay, guys, I am getting free games, but I'm still being honest with you. I think that's like a guy like Total Biscuit or fucking Angry Joe. This guy shits on everything, but people go to him because they know that they trust him, basically, and companies know that he's going to bring in people.
Like and again, sorry to sound like an old timer, but I remember a day when people wouldn't sponsor a product that they didn't personally support, and to have any kind of celebrity or any kind of company just go around supporting or sponsoring any fucking product that would give them money, you look at them and be like, that's a whore of a company. Like they used to make fun of that on The Simpsons when Krusty would be like, this new company wants you to sponsor this burger. Be like, what's it made out of? They'd be like, infected horse meat. And you'd be like, all right. And you as the viewer are supposed to go, what a piece of shit. But somehow since then we've come to the point where yeah, we expect that. Like people don't have this weird idea anymore that they only advertise for products that they actually support, which goes against the whole grain of why we had people start advertising products to begin with. Because back in the day when they first started this, you'd see a celebrity drinking a Coke and you'd be like, oh, fucking James Dean, he drinks Pepsi. Like that is James Dean's product of choice because I saw him on the commercial, and he wouldn't be in the commercial if the motherfucker didn't actually drink it. And somewhere along the lines, we played this weird game of telephone to ourselves that now we've gotten to this point where it's completely irrelevant, and we'll see somebody drinking some soda on TV, and we won't even actually think, they probably only drink Crystal Light. Like, we'll see Sarah Jessica Parker or some other bitch on TV, drinking a Diet Pepsi, and you're like, that bitch probably only drinks Crystal Light. I seriously doubt in a million years that she would be drinking a Diet Pepsi or, an RC Zero or some shit like that. But we still do the advertisements. We still go through the song and dance, even though it's become weird and meaningless.
Yeah, Simon Pegg isn't playing no Halo 5, man. Come on now. Man, all right. Let's move on. Still on the Konami tip here. So Konami, since Manny, you talked about how they're trying to get in good with people, right? They're letting fans vote on what classic games they'd like to see return. My question is, do you take any stock in this? Will they actually go ahead and implement any of this shit?
I definitely think. There is definitely a bit of a change that's happening over there. I don't know what I'm not a mind reader, but maybe they do want to. It could be two different things. It could be one thing where they legitimately want to know what fans want, even though you kind of everybody knows what everybody wants. You don't need to be a freaking rocket scientist to know this. There's only a few answers to that question.
Dude, I can imagine if they were still getting mail, it's going to look like the end of Miracle on 34th Street with all the letters to Santa Claus, and they're all just going to say, we want PT/Silent Hills, every single fucking letter.
What franchise would you like to see come back? Oh, I don't know, Silent Hill?
Yeah, but of course this vote is controlled, so they give you a list of games. They
give you a list of things, which I'm sure it's the usual suspects. It's Castlevania, it's Contra. It's those things, which is fine.
Yeah, but we got Castlevania before. Look what happened.
We want a good Castlevania. We don't want that Castlevania. Whatever that was.
Oh man. So yeah, I guess Konami is trying to get in people's good graces, but at the same time, man, you know, I think people have kind of lost faith, man. Just being honest.
It's a very difficult situation because, again, it also depends on who's running this, but it could be Konami, of the West or the East. I don't know who's doing it because I didn't look.
Probably the West.
It's probably the West, but yeah, I mean, they definitely. I mean, a lot of them really want to do something really cool, but most of the time their hands are pretty much tied. So who knows? Maybe it might mean something. Maybe it doesn't. I think at this. I mean, you looked at what kind of happened with Resident Evil, and then maybe they're looking at that and saying, "Oh, okay, maybe that's what should happen with us."
Maybe they should remaster a bunch of old titles.
Maybe they'll remaster a bunch of old titles. Who knows? Remastering does take time and effort to do. So I mean, I don't know. We'll see.
I take this more as okay, we give up. We don't know what to make anymore. Just tell us.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know. I think it's just like a fake olive branch. I think they're just trying to connect with people or appear that they're connecting with people. Like, hey, we'll give you these surveys, and we're making you part of a conversation that we're really not having. And you submit this stuff, and you feel good about it. And at the end of the day, we're still doing this mobile stuff.
Yeah, basically.
I think that's what's happening.
Yeah, they're still going to move on with their mobile initiative. So, yeah, I'm with you 100%. I think it's just like a little bit of an olive branch, just like we said.
Yeah, absolutely. You know what? And I'm going to preface this by saying hashtag Symphony of the Night remake.
Yeah. Yes.
But, after that, I mean, with Konami, they've got such a storied background. I hate to see them lose all connectivity with people, because, like I said, man, they're one of the greatest sources of entertainment in the video game arena ever, and to see them at this state is sad, but it's also fitting. And I would like to see this be real. I would like to see this actually work. I would like to see there be some productive, positive movement out of this.
Yeah, again, we shall see, because Konami, they've been slipping lately, man. Everything you hear about Konami is just bad news and bad news.
All coming from Japan, by the way.
All coming from Japan, the Western side. They're trying to, I'm just saying, I'm pretty sure they're not happy with this.
I definitely, I don't think they're happy with all this stuff. I'm sure if they could have it their way, they'd be like, oh man, Kojima just does this all the time.
Yeah.
Let Kojima do what he does.
Exactly.
They wouldn't have put his name on that goddamn Castlevania game if his name didn't sell.
I wonder if they're going to retroactively take his name out of the credits too, right?
No, I don't think so.
If they do a remaster of Castlevania, just take that out.
Mm-hmm.
You never know. Anyway, let's wrap this up. This is going to be interesting because every year before the game comes out, we're always like, whatever, Call of Duty's coming out, blah, 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 blah. Now they've done something different. They've actually had a beta, and thank you to Activision. They just sent me a code. I'm bought off people.
Yes, you are a shill now.
You are a shill. Sorry, Tony.
Hey, listen, but I'm just going to be honest. I'm playing this Call of Duty. It is the greatest game ever played in my life. Like, fuck Metal Gear, fuck Uncharted. I'm being honest.
Wow. Hey, is that Tony? Is that Hip Hop Gamer right now?
Yeah. Okay, so anyway, I'm playing this Call of Duty thing, and it's fucking Call of Duty. I'm level 3. These guys are level... How the fuck you get to level 21 in the first day? It's insane. So I'm getting murdered, obviously, and I'm playing this. I'm like, this place a lot like Titanfall. There's wall running and shit. I'm like, okay, that's interesting. I mean, it's, like, cool, I guess. Like, it feels good as Call of Duty, but at the same time, it's like, for a guy like me, I can't get too excited because it's Call of Duty, but I'm pretty sure a lot of... Because this is, like... Even though it's not a PS4 exclusive, it's kind of looking like one. This demo is only on the fucking PS4. It's not on Xbox. So people are going to start associating it with that. Like, oh, I got to get a PlayStation to get that Call of Duty, son. I'm telling you, man. It's a smart move they pulled with this. exclusivity deal. You know, quote unquote, for you guys just listening. I was doing air quotes. It's not exclusive, but people are gonna think it's exclusive. Last gen, you heard the whole thing like, oh man, I wish I had a PlayStation to play Call of Duty. Now people are like, I wish I had an Xbox to play Call of Duty. I'm telling you, man, it's shifting. So yeah, I'm playing Squall. I'll have a write-up for you probably when the beta ends. Like I was gonna do it tonight. I'm like, let me just play a little more, even though, you know, there's not really much more to say. There's 8 modes, like 2 maps in it. The same maps I played at E3, so there's nothing different there. And just a bunch of guys raping me. It's as simple as that. Like, how do you level up so fast, man? And then it's like I'm running around with this shitty-ass gun. These guys have, like, mega bombs. They're dropping fucking payloads out of the sky. It's like, I can't do shit. But that's the typical Call of Duty experience, I guess. Oh, man.
You know, I got the beta, too, and only reason I haven't played it is because I'm a cheap bastard and I'm not paying for no plus right now. But outside of that, everyone that I've talked to that's played it is said that it's just superior in a lot of ways over the last incarnation. I mean, as you were playing it, did you see anything that just hopped out at you? Like they took what worked and made it better?
Like I said, I'm not the biggest Call of Duty guy, but I do like the fact that there's a bunch of technology now, robots and shit. That's cool. I like the more like traversal aspects of it. It's not as stiff, and yeah, I like that whole, like, you're able to just, like, you know, it's like Destiny. It's like the whole world is your playground. You can use it to your advantage.
The world is your oyster.
But I know, like I said, I'm probably not the best person to ask about this, but I know Call of Duty guys are playing it. They're like, this is the shit. So they're loving it. You know, and then I'm happy that it works. It's a beta that works. Street Fighter V.
Uh-oh.
Shots. No hitches. No hitches in that, man. Like, hey, they're doing a stress test, and they're actually able to do a stress test because people are on it. And they're playing it. That's how you do a stress test. You got to get people on the servers first. Simple as that. But yeah, I mean, people liking it and stuff. Charles Singletary
actually, it was a stress test. It's for you though.
Yeah, just for me.
It's for everybody else to see if they get stressed from the stress test.
I know a very own Charles Singletary. He didn't like it though. He was like, "Yo, man, this is trash," and he likes Call of Duty. So
wow.
Who knows?
So is it safe to say you like the shitty Call of Duty game?
Maybe.
Oh.
By the way, I find it funny that on my PSN is half Destiny, half Call of Duty beta. So it's like, damn, Activision, man, making that money. I'm telling you, man, this fall's going to get interesting. I called it again. Someone's going to win the fall. Uh-oh. Don't say that, Tony. Don't say that.
Easy, Tiger.
Oh, man. All right, so that's the show. So a couple of things before we leave. Episode 50 is coming. We are getting it all together. That is in 2 weeks. We'll have a very, huge guest, someone that's very important to us. And we'll have giveaways, as always. We don't know what we're going to do exactly, what we're going to do, but we'll have giveaways.
Speaking of giveaways...
what do you got?
Well, I do have this is exclusive here. This is the third issue of We Are Robin, which is coming out pretty soon. I might have one of those for you guys. Ooh. Also, Batman Beyond 2.0. I worked on. So
nice.
You might get those.
Very cool. And I think I'm going to throw in for fun, because somebody was asking for it, I'm going to throw in one of those old school shut the fuck up place shirts, because that would be very appropriate. Yeah, it would be very appropriate for that episode. All right, so yeah, watch that. So next week, we've got a big guest coming too. We won't reveal that yet. We'll probably say it on Throw Down Your Question. By the way, Throw Down Your Question episode 50 is coming too, so we got some shit for you guys. It's going to be crazy.
A little something.
All right, before we leave, Chazz, man, thank you for being on. I hope it was everything you could have imagined.
He just bowed for those of you listening.
Yeah. And where can people find you, man? Pimp your shit.
You know what? They can find me in my mama's basement. No, seriously. You can find me on Twitter at Chazz Sweet. That's CHAZZSWEET. And then like sugar,
like that,
sweet.
man. Like a Snoop Dogg, man.
Oh yeah, my thizzle. And then you can hit me up at ChazzSweet.com. That's it.
And where could you check out your podcast?
at ChazzSweet.com.
Awesome. And you got on iTunes and all that?
No, but it's coming. As soon as I
Right.
figure out how to do all that stuff, all this technology stuff is, just wearing me out right now, B.
All right, we'll help you out with that, man. We got you covered. All right, people. So thank you for watching and listening. Make sure to follow the Coalition at thecoalition.com. Subscribe to Throwdown on SoundCloud, iTunes, and YouTube. Don't forget to follow us on Twitter at Throwdown Show and Facebook at Throwdown Show. Links are available in the description below. Once again, our show is Tony Polanco, and tonight joined by Emilio Lopez.
I have you.
Chris Seeley.
This show is sponsored by Raisins and the letter B.
Brett Murdock.
As always, it's been a pleasure, ladies and gentlemen.
And Chazz Sweet.
Yes, sir.
All right, guys. We'll see you later.
Later, people.